Hey guys, I'm Ellie. Welcome to my channel. Here's the video. So today I am going to be addressing the two biggest questions that I get by far. The first question is, are we going to sue? And the second question is, what disease did she have? She was born Friday at 2:11 a.m. on September 23rd of 2022. And we were over the moon, excited and happy. But when she turned about 1 hour old, I asked the nurse, I was like, hey, she kind of looks red. She kind of looks purple. Is that normal? And she was like, oh yeah, this is so normal, especially in the first week. She even told me it can go on for weeks and be normal. I just want to preface this with saying, you guys out there, some of you are going to have negative thoughts about my story, but that's fine with me because I'm doing this to bring awareness to child loss. People don't talk about this kind of stuff ever. And I just want to bring awareness to it. And I just want people to know that they're not alone, and posting and recording how I'm feeling. And so many of you guys validate it. It's the entire reason why I started doing this. And keep in mind, the first video I ever posted was of my pregnancy announcement, and that went viral before she ever died, about a year before I ever got any attention for this. So she's about 1 hour old and she has a little bit of blue and purple discoloration. And I remember I was so worried about it. I texted my dad pictures of her and I was like, I literally said, why is she so red? And my dad was sending me articles. My dad is a lawyer and he's the smartest man I know. And he's a personal injury and medical malpractice lawyer. So when you guys comment things, ask me if I'm going to sue in a way implying that there was negligence somewhere in this case. So Sunday rolls around. Her color, it would vary. When she would lay down sometimes, her color would be normal for a little bit. And honestly, I was so tired. I had had a C-section 2 days prior. And I'm laying in bed. I still have a catheter in. I'm not even getting up to go pee. And my nails were yellow. I had acrylics on when I got to the hospital, and they asked me to peel them off in case something went wrong during the C-section. They had to look at my nail beds or whatever. I don't even know. So anyone who has ripped acrylics off knows that the underneath color gets discolored. It just does. And if you look at that video, you can tell that there's an acrylic nail there. They made me pull it off. So we leave on Sunday. We come home. I have told the specific story about that night before. I'm not going to get into all of that right now. Maybe in the future, again, I will retell that. But we are focusing on the two questions that this video is about. The first few days after her passing, I was 4, 5, 6 days postpartum from a C-section, not really able to stand or walk or go to the bathroom by myself yet. And I was planning my daughter's funeral at the same time, which was hard. And thank God for my in-laws, because I basically told the coroner, all the medical people where all of her records and information was being sent. I was like, can you just forward it to my in-laws? And they'll let me know if they need something from me, because what you guys don't get, this is not even easy for me to talk about ever, let alone on camera, but I have found doing this to be really therapeutic. And I've also been in therapy with the same therapist for the past 2 years, and that has really helped my mental health a lot. About a year goes by, and I was at some point asking, I think my husband or my in-laws, hey, did we ever get her autopsy report and stuff? A few months after she had passed, I went to a medical malpractice lawyer who basically said, if you want to sue and have a case, we need all of her medical information, every single drop. And I was like, yeah, of course. That information took a year and a half to come in. It wasn't a problem. We had filed within the statute of limitations within our state. And then they started the medical background search. And the first thing they said was, delete your TikTok. And I was like, no. And they were like, okay, well, you can't talk about the lawsuit. And I was like, yeah, I know. And people are commenting are you gonna? And I'm like, have any of you ever been in a lawsuit? You cannot talk about it online. The medical background research that the malpractice lawyer had done with us also came through the coroner who did the autopsy, And then they sent her organs out, and her pathology labs came back, and that's where we found a gene mutation. She died of methemoglobinemia type 2. There is two kinds of methemoglobinemia. Type 1 is acquired typically through dialysis medications, benzocaine, which is apparently what dentists use to numb your gums. And so the majority of people that acquire it are elderly. Only 36 infants have ever died from this in all of history. With this being super rare, after my baby passed, I switched OBs. He referred me to an MFM. The MFM and my medical malpractice lawyer were working to find, what does this disease even mean? There is almost no research on it, and at the end of the day, the information that they presented us with was it was congenital 100% because it was found in her. There's over a 90% chance that they will die within the first year, so it's fatal, it's terminal, and it's incurable. And the only kind that ends up actually unaliving you is type 2. And we went to a geneticist and we got genetic testing, and we are not carriers. That geneticist sent us to a specialist, a doctor of genetics. She basically came up with that it was a de novo mutation and that it just happens sometimes. I looked up the percentage of this happening to my child. It was literally like 0.0000001%. After the lawyers and the doctors and geneticists all confirmed it was genetic, it was terminal, it was fatal, I was still beside myself. Obviously, I was a mess. I was like, can't we sue them? I don't remember them doing one test on her in the hospital besides like a hearing test. They like put a little ear thing in her and they were like, she can hear. And I'm like, great. They didn't check her oxygen once. They checked her vitals. They checked her vitals a couple minutes after she was born, and then once again in labor and delivery, to my knowledge. Keep in mind, I was postpartum, more exhausted than I have ever been in my entire life. I basically was like, is there anything else we can sue for? I think that when a beautiful, perfect baby passes away at full term with almost no explanation, it is natural to want to blame someone. It was this hospital's fault. It was this doctor's fault. It was this nurse's fault. But when it comes down to it, I know deep in my heart that nobody could have stopped this or prevented it. And that's when I was like, well, I think it's a little messed up that she had to pass in our house at that time. I would have rather been in the hospital. Was that going to happen? I think anyone would. For the comfort, peace of mind, there's doctors there. And obviously you would want that to be in the hospital, not at your house. She basically explained to me that if I tried to pursue this, it would just get really messy. And my dad is a personal injury and medical malpractice lawyer. He's one of the best. He basically told me that going through this lawsuit is not going to make you feel any better. And it didn't. Every time I met with the lawyers, every time we had to do any of that kind of thing, I was not okay. Like, it was too fresh, it was too raw. And the statute of limitations being only 2 years, that is messed up. The first 2 years are such a blur. You don't even know what's going on around you. In summation, no, we are not going to sue. The doctors ended up proving it was a genetic mutation. Therefore, we do not have a case. That, and they asked me to delete my TikTok. I was like, no. That's like telling me to stop going to therapy. It's just not probably going to happen ever. And then for the people that are confused on the timeline of this all did happen in 2022. I found out I was pregnant on January 10th in the morning. It was around 11 a.m. when I woke up and I peed and I found out. And then I gave birth on September 23rd of 2022. And it kills me that like that date doesn't roll off my mind how it would had she survived. And like you moms that have living children today, you get so many wins with your children. And it breaks my heart to think that they take it for granted. She passed in September of 2022. 2023, I was still healing from my C-section. It was kind of actually a horrible procedure to have on your body. Like, who knew? I had no idea. But they cut you in half. I think it's 7 layers. They cut you 7 layers deep. I couldn't really walk. And my mother-in-law kept yelling at me. She'd be like, Ellie, sit down. What do you need? And I'm like, I can get it. I don't even know why I was like that. I really just want to start a dialogue online about being a mom who has just gone through loss. Because last month we also did get pregnant and then it didn't stick. We had an early miscarriage. We got to 4 weeks and 5 days. That for me was the biggest mind F of all, because this whole time I've been thinking, once I'm pregnant, all my problems are going to be solved. I'm just going to be fine. The day I found out I was pregnant last month, my anxiety shooted through the roof. I instantly became insanely manic. I was driving around town, buying more pregnancy tests, buying out Dollar General, going to Meijer, and testing so obsessively. And my husband was working so much that week, so I hardly saw him. It's really hard to wrap your mind around being pregnant and then, oh, now I'm not pregnant. Nope, just forget about that. That didn't happen. And it's like the thing where people say, don't announce your pregnancy until you're 12 weeks because I don't want to feel uncomfortable if something happens. The smallest win I get is making people feel uncomfortable because, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but that's my reality. And this is what I deal with every day. When I'm around people, though, I'm not trying to be a downer or something, but if someone asks me, do you have kids? I always go, yeah. And then there's always, how old are they? Oh, she died. And I'm honest about it because lying about it feels so weird to me. Like, why would I lie about she existed? She existed. And something my husband's aunt told me once she passed and I was helping plan the funeral, I was like, do I bury her or do I cremate her? We all grew up Catholic and she had stillborn twins and she said, we cremated our twins and we have their ashes at our house and I'm happy I have them because it's proof that they existed. And when she said that to me at the time, I was thinking, obviously she existed. She was here 5 minutes ago. But then time goes on. Time does go on, though. And anyone who's going to comment, just please remember, at the end of the day, I still am just a grieving mom. I tried my best. It didn't work out for me. The reason I didn't want to tell people about this is because it's so rare. I don't even want to put this thought into anyone's mind because the odds of this happening again are so infinitesimally small. This is not easy for me to talk about, but when I get your guys' support and feedback, it actually means the world to me. And that's why I post these videos is no matter how many mean comments there are, there's always a couple girls in the comments who are just sticking up for me. And I'm always like, you're amazing. I love you. Like, can we please be friends? And I've made so many genuine friends off of TikTok, like friends who I text on the regular. Thanks for watching this video. If you guys want to subscribe to my channel, that's cool. I do want to do some more long form content on here with delicate subjects like this because it makes it a little bit easier to talk about. And getting my point across on TikTok with a 10-minute time limit, that constraint. I'm not monetized on YouTube, okay, guys? I'm not monetized. I don't know why people even mention that. Baby dust to everyone.